Oh, oh God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Gavesty here. This is the normal DPS guide for General Nazgrim. Feel free to click on the annotations if you'd like to see the full raid guide, but otherwise this should give DPS players a good sense of the core or basic mechanics they need to be aware of, target priorities, how to avoid damage, all that good stuff. So let's get started. Now the basic mechanic in this fight is General Nazgrim's Rage Bar. He will gain rage through a variety of sources, and every 15 seconds he will use a special attack that will be based on the amount of total rage he has at the time. He always tries to cast the ability that costs the most rage that he has access to, so the general goal is to keep his rage level low, such that every 15 seconds he casts one of his weaker, lower rage cost abilities. As a DPS, there are a few things you can do to assist with this goal and keep his rage levels low, so we'll talk about those in a moment here. So General Nazgrim will enter 3 different stances throughout the fight and rotate these. He always starts in battle stance, and this lasts 60 seconds, and then he will go into Berserker stance for 60 seconds, and then finally defensive stance for another 60 seconds, before he repeats the process and does the same 3 over again. So, as a DPS, you are free to attack General Nazgrim as much as you'd like while he's in battle stance or Berserker stance. Specifically during Berserker stance, he takes 25% extra damage, so this is an ideal time to use your DPS cooldowns and all that good stuff to burn him down a little bit more. However, during defensive stance, if you attack General Nazgrim directly, he will gain 3 rage for every attack that is made against him. The exception is the current main tank. They are free to attack him without giving him extra rage. But as a DPS, you should not be allowed to attack Nazgrim during the defensive period. So just deal with adds, and otherwise you just kind of might have to stand around and wait for that period to end. So avoiding damage as a DPS in this fight is not too complicated. There are a few things to watch for. The first is that leap attack that was just used on the screen there. This is a rage ability that's used at 30 rage called Heroic Shockwave, and it does pretty heavy damage when it lands, but in addition, the little lines of orange shockwave that go out do damage and give rage to Nazgrim if anyone's touched by them. So as a DPS, just sidestep that, pretty obvious, make sure it doesn't hit you. The next thing to be aware of is the Korkron banner, which is cast if he has 50 rage. There you saw a banner a moment ago. As a DPS, make sure you switch to and kill that right away, especially if you're a melee, you happen to be in range of it. Often your ranged DPS will be assigned to kill the adds primarily, and your melee DPS allowed to attack the boss. And since the banner always appears near the boss, people that are near it should prioritize it. But it does not do damage to you directly. It just causes allies with Nazgrim to give him rage, which is bad. The next thing you can do to avoid damage is dodge the Ravager, which is the spinning axe you saw a moment ago. There it is in the bottom left. This should not spawn very frequently, but when Nazgrim gains 100 rage, he will spawn one of these. And if it touches you, it deals heavy damage and gives him 5 rage. So make sure you watch for those closely and dodge them. But generally speaking, if your raid spawns too many of these, something went wrong with his rage gains in the first place. The next few things are all based on the adds. So throughout the fight, adds will spawn in the back of the room, should be opposite where Nazgrim is tanked for the most part. And as a DPS, if the assassin attacks you, you can avoid a bunch of extra damage by keeping your face toward it. Facing it, in other words. If it gets behind you, it will backstab you for a ton of damage. So if it's fixated on you, just look directly at it and DPS it down. Other than that, kill the Arcweavers and the War Shamans quickly when they spawn, and then the Iron Blade will be your last priority in terms of DPS. So, that really covers everything. One final mention is that at 10% health, Nazgrim will spawn an extra set of adds. There you can see them popping up. Usually in this period, your raid will just ignore the adds, blow Bloodlust, and try to burn the boss down before things become out of hand. this is the one time where attacking Nazgrim while he's in defensive stance would be okay. So if that's the plan for your raid, feel free to just burn everything you've got, finish the boss off, try to CC, stun, or otherwise ignore the ads during this period. And that covers it. So that's the basics for normal DPS against General Nazgrim. As always, good luck, and thanks for watching.